Honesty, passion, experience. It's Timberwolves Explosion, hosted on the Paladinolive network. And now, your host, Paladino Joey. Hello again, Timberwolves fans. Are you ready for the explosion of Timberwolves basketball? I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Timberwolves Explosion is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podaman, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Audible, Stitcher, Double Twist, and I'm sure there's some others. Thank you once and always for downloading and listening to the show. It feels great to be back on board with you once again today. The Minnesota Timberwolves this past week played 4 games, and they went 3-1 with a 3-game win streak. And yes, back above 500. So, nice feeling. Always some good news. Karl-Anthony Towns now has been selected for the All-Star Club, so that also feels great. The computer appears to be freezing here, which is really annoying. But yes, no, Karl-Anthony Towns has been selected as an All-Star Reserve, and they had some fun with that yesterday after the Timberwolves beat the Detroit Pistons. A little scared for a little bit, but the Prince was at the Palace. The Prince was in the Palace yesterday. Taurean Prince, what a nice week for him. We'll talk about that definitely today. We'll talk about some trade possibilities, some interesting stuff. I wouldn't mind either acquisition coming back. I think I would be happy with the 2 possible trade conversations with the Boston Celtics part of me. There's always other things as well. I'm not 100% sure what might be going on with the Philadelphia 76ers, but we'll get to that shortly. Let's look at the games real quick and kind of talk about the trade scenarios at the same time. Minnesota headed to Phoenix last Friday the 28th, which I stupidly, idiotically forgot to mention. I even had it written down and ready to go just in case I got, tied up in another conversation. That was my 14th birthday as a podcaster. 14 years podcasting in general. I started with Paladinolive on January the 28th, 2008. Purple Mafia, April 2008. And then, of course, I split Vikings conversation off of Paladinolive. It used to be all 3 teams. I'd even talk about the Minnesota Twins on that podcast. It was kind of a general Minnesota sports podcast. I even wanted to talk a little stock market in there, a little bit, like stocks, penny stocks and such, but that just never happened. Maybe on Freedom of Thought a little bit. That's the other show I do, Freedom of Thought, where it's not sports, but I'll throw in sports conversation as well, like comparing this to that. But yes, April 2008, Vikings Conversation had its own show now, Purple Mafia. And then it's like, Paladinolive just wasn't getting off the ground. And it's like, what the heck? Why not have split into 2 shows about the Minnesota Wild and the Minnesota Timberwolves? And that was in August 2008. So again, the podcasting dealie started on January 28, 2008, thanks to Dylan Richardson of thesportstuff.com. Farzine Vasugian referred me to Dylan Richardson, so I want to thank Farzine, even though things went very sour with him about 6 years ago. He changed. People change. People change. It's like, what is that, Madonna back in the 80s? Yeah, people change. They have a little success, things start going in the right direction for them, and then they get a little jerky and a little more jerky, and that's life, unfortunately. People change. It sucks. In this game, there was no D'Angelo Russell. You got to see Jalen Noel as a starter. Nothing too exciting from him. He's more of a microwave off the bench. Malik Beasley and Taurean Prince, to be fair, had a good week, and Malik Beasley raising up that trade value. Keep it up, Malik, as we're heading into the trade deadline. Thank you, Malik. Stop those 5-point games where you shoot 1 of 10 or something like that. This will help. 26 points off the bench versus the Phoenix Suns. Doesn't get a whole lot better than that. Thank you, Malik. And off the bench, by the way. Again, I said it like 6 times. Anthony Edwards always seems to have wonderful success against the Phoenix Suns. He had that 42-point game a year ago. That was epic. That was awesome. And again, that was, I believe, the first of his 4 40-point games, pardon me, as he's done it already 4 times. He's tied with just 3 other players all time at age of 20. So at the age of 20 and under, unbelievable run for Anthony Edwards. But the Phoenix Suns, unfortunately, the best team in the league right now. They kept their winning streak going. The Hawks ultimately would beat them just a couple nights ago. Just 2 days ago, or even last night. I'm getting the days mixed up, but gosh. Trae Young with 43 points. That'll do that. That'll do it. And the Hawks back into playoff contention. They have a similar record to the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's right. Timberwolves are right now the 9th seed. Or are we? No, we're 7th. 7th seed, pardon me. As again, we would be in that whole bubble deal, the play-in thing, and we'd rather be out of the play-in thing because the other participants are the Los Angeles Lakers, Los Angeles Clippers, and Portland Trailblazers, who have given the Wolves a hard time in the past. So I don't think I want into that. I don't think so. Crazy to think, the Wolves pretty much are a shoo-in for the minimum 10th seed, so to speak, because Portland is 21-31, 10 games under 500, 10 games under 500. The Lakers have, this guy named LeBron. They have this guy named Anthony Davis. They have a guy that gets a lot of triple doubles and used to animate a lot like Steph Curry back in the day. He used to bug me more. He actually doesn't bug me as much as he doesn't bug me as much now as he used to. But just the fact he's not good for team chemistry. He's just not good for team chemistry, and that's just kind of the way it is with Russell Westbrook. I knew it. I knew it, and I guess some of you didn't. I'm sorry. I mean, like if Russell Westbrook came to the Timberwolves, my throat would start to get a little tight, especially if you're talking like trading away D'Angelo Russell, who seems to be the opposite lately. Much more of a winner, so to speak. He's the guy you want with the ball at the end of the game. Again, a nice, impressive couple wins, though, against like Denver and such. Almost beat Phoenix. We were in it, but, Phoenix just kind of is what they are. They were ahead the whole game, and it just kind of was what it was. Giving 40 points in the first quarter will do that to you. Devin Booker was hitting most of what he wanted to. Chris Paul got more and more clutch as the game progressed, and he had a triple-double. Chris Paul, see, talk about efficiency. I don't even like the guy. He's a jackass. Chris Paul. He's a jackass, and everybody knows it. Except for people that call him a class act for some reason. Well, we can talk about Devin Booker, how great he is. It took him 26 shots to get to 29 points. I mean, I don't really need to elaborate why that's not that great. It's okay. It's not that great. But 9 assists is good, and he hit the shots down the stretch that helped put the Suns in position to win the game. But Chris Paul, well, it took him 9 shots to get to 21. Oh, and by the way, 14 assists and 10 rebounds. So if I was the Los Angeles Lakers or Phoenix Suns or whatever, you know what I mean, 2 teams that are in the Pacific Division trying to win an NBA title with their glitzy players, a great lineup in this, I would take Chris Paul 10 out of 10 times over Russell Westbrook. As big of a jackass as Chris Paul is, efficiency. Now, of course, when it gets to the very, very end, he seems to not be as good. Like, say, deep in Western Conference Finals and NBA and deep in the NBA Finals last year, I'm kind of rooting for him, even though, again, there's a side to Chris Paul that's not really likable. I mean, I think most NBA fans know that. But if it'd be nice to see him get at least one bleeping ring because he's been close many times, and I don't know, just stay healthy and hopefully they can get it done. Again, I don't like Chris Paul or Devin Booker a whole lot. Those are the 2 main dogs on the team, so to speak. Bismack Biyombo, nice performance as well. Despite getting into foul trouble, nice, solid, strong triple-double. And then he put it's mostly the fans, though, who have been there for 50 years, following the team for 50 years, 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever. Maybe the youngsters, so to speak. It'd be nice to see Phoenix, Arizona finally get a championship with their original team. I talked about that last week. I'll keep moving, but Phoenix wins in a decent performance. But Taurean Prince, Malik Beasley, Anthony Edwards, and of course Karl Anthony Towns leading the way. No D'Angelo Russell. Let's attempt to move forward if humanly possible. Now that I've done a bit of babbling already, which unfortunately I'm known to do, the Utah Spaz were spazzing out, unfortunately, and they just weren't injured enough. I mean, that's the thing. They just weren't injured enough. They got another one on the list, and I feel bad about that one, big time. Speaking of triple doubles, Karl Anthony Towns just rock and rolled right into that one, and an easy choice to be an all-star reserve at the very least. Jaden McDaniels couldn't miss. No, seriously, he couldn't. He was 9 of 9 from the floor. That was cool. Some dunks, some 3-point shots, catch and shoot. 3 of 3 from downtown, 9 of 9 overall. Again, some dunks, some close range, but hey, putting the ball in the bleeping basket is what it's meant to be. 22 points off the bench. The Prince himself, 4 of 5 and 10 points off the bench as well. Even added 7 rebounds and a couple steals. So last week, it's like you looked at some of his box scores and you're just like, huh? Wow, that's 30 minutes And he attempted like 2 shots and missed them both. And no free throws and no rebound. It was like, what's going on with this guy? What the heck? What the heck, man? What the heck? Remember how I was talking about him and Jaden McDaniels started at, him and Jaden McDaniels played small forward during a game last week. I can't remember who it was against. It might have been Portland. And it was like, like about 45 minutes combined with 3 points. It's great. It's great. It's awesome. Awesome day. Guys, thanks. Beasley starting and sucking. 3 of 12. Well, perhaps no lone wolf for you, Malik. Sorry, buddy. Jaden, those 2 guys that I was just bashing for a terrible like entire game last week are in the running for that one. Big time with, of course, the all-star Carl Anthony Towns. You notice I didn't mention Anthony Edwards because another inconsistent week. And if I can remember, a real funny, goofy thing last night versus the Detroit Pistons, the press conference or whatever, if you want to call it that. But the reserves, what a nice game in Utah. And, of course, it helps when you have depth, and it doesn't help when you don't have depth in terms of the Utah Jazz. Well, Mike Conley played at least. That's nice because he often is out. Jordan Clarkson actually didn't have that hot of a game. In fact, he's been shooting poorly all season, to be quite fair. But no Stifle Tower, as they like to call him, Rudy Gobert, no Donovan Mitchell. It's like, we got this. This will be easy. And then as Joe Ingles is going up to, attack the basket, his knee buckles and bends, and he's out for the year. I'm sorry, Joe. I am. That sucked. That sucks. And I love Australians, obviously. And it's not just because he's Australian, but yeah, I do love Australians. And I just, I feel bad for the guy. Non-contact, and the knee just went sideways. And, gosh. So, children, do not watch closely on that one. And just be careful going up to the basket. That's all I got to say. Bad, really rotten luck for the Jazz there. I mean, I don't know. There's like no way the Wolves couldn't win the game. And I mean, I guess there's always a possibility the Wolves have blown games against depleted teams, but that's like getting to a point of like, geez, that sucks. And, I feel bad for Joe Ingles. He's out for a while, of course. And you know what ACLs are in the NBA. It's just a different animal. They take longer for, I'm not sure 100% the reason, but I guess guys used to come back a little early in the past, and it didn't really help. They'd end up overcompensating and having like pain in their other knee, this and that. They'd have some kind of what do they call that? Like strains and such, inflammation, stuff like that. When you have overcompensation, even though the knee's healed, it's not strong, that type of thing. And then guys end up like taking an extra 6 to 9 months or something than in the past. It seems a bit excessive, but what the hell do I know? I mean, it is what it is. The Wolves did beat the Jazz by 20, 126-106. So nice triple-double and all that by Karl Anthony Towns. Very happy to see the triple-double, 31 points, 10 assists, 11 rebounds. He got the assist late in the game, and you saw the big smile and guys dumping a little water on him like they did yesterday in the locker room as he was announced as a All-Star reserve. Congratulations. Not sure which team he's going to be on, but who cares? He's in the All-Star game. It's either Team LeBron or Team Giannis, as I'm finally saying it correctly. Watch, I probably said it wrong again. I probably did. Nick Timus is like, Joey, you did it again. You did it again, buddy. Maybe. But 20-point win for the Jazz. I'll shut up and keep moving here. So, we head into the month of February. Again, wrap up January with the victory. Head to Target Center versus Denver with Jokic in there. Sounded like he had a bit of a toe problem, but was going to play. Still had a Jokic-like performance. Didn't score a ton, but 21, 16, and 8. Just, again, MVP-like numbers for the MVP, the reigning MVP in the NBA. So Michael Green had increased minutes and played well like he usually does against the Timberwolves. I've always liked him, reserve power forward. Wouldn't mind him on the Wolves. Because I think we have our power forward. And as he gets bigger and stronger, Jared Vanderbilt is a starting power forward in the NBA. He is, because he provides the defense, he provides the rebounding, and guess what? He can score close to the basket as well. He's able to finish, because not every guy who isn't 7 foot is able to finish by the basket. Even though you're close to the basket, some guys they're just unable to finish for whatever reason. They don't have the physicality, they don't have the wherewithal, this and that. Guys get nervous sometimes when they're too close to the basket. Like, oh, here it is, and then they just don't finish. But a nice, solid overall night. A 15-point win for the Wolves. This was just like the Wolves kind of flexing their muscles especially in that second quarter, 39-23. But kind of a total team effort. And, of course, Taurean Prince shooting the lights out. Shooting the absolute lights out. I remember just staring at the thing and like, wow, he's doing that well tonight? Oh, my God. Wound up with 8 of 12, 6 of 9 from downtown, 23 points, even had 9 rebounds and a couple steals and a block. Taurean Prince just kind of Mr. Everything out there. And my goodness, Taurean, he is picking up the pace. I don't know if he's trying to raise his trade value, but if he's playing like this, I'd like to keep him on the team. I'd like to keep him on the team the rest of the season. Maybe he could be a factor going into the postseason. Anthony Edwards, what's going on? Single digits? No rebounds? What happened, man? But I suppose Taurean Prince probably took some of those minutes. He was playing so well. Beasley was adequate off the bench, 40%, but he made all of his baskets were three-pointers, 4 3-pointers for 12 points. Noel, kind of another mediocre shooting night, but still managed to get to double digits. But, yep, only 12 shots and 23 points. That's what it's like. That's what it is. And Karl Anthony Towns is the other guy who's ultra efficient most often with 12 points. 12 field goal attempts and 24 points. That's double right there, of course. Easy math. Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards, you get the Flynn for this game. 8 field goal attempts, 5 points for Anthony and Edwards. Yikes. You might want to stay off that McDonald's app, buddy. Might want to stay off the McDonald's app. We're about to get to that shortly. What the heck, man? Jaden McDaniels, what's going on? Is it rubbing off on you? Come on now, you're supposed to be good. What's up with you guys? It's 2020 NBA draft. What's wrong with you guys? Is the 2020 draft a big bust except for LaMelo Ball or something? 7 attempts, 4 points. Dude, come on, man. But at least he got 5 rebounds and 4 assists and a couple blocks. Anthony Edwards, what's going on? 2 assists. Hey, there you go. 2 assists and a block. Okay. But no rebounds? Anthony, that's not like you. It's not. It's not like him. But the Wolves won the game by 15 points over the Denver Nuggets. So as long as I'm done nitpicking, it's just I'm still a little stunned. Why did Edwards suck so bad? Why? Why did he suck so bad against Denver? Yikes. I guess Taurean Prince was so good he told him to sit down. Something like that. But nice win, nonetheless, to open the month of February, Tuesday the 1st. Apologize for my wackiness. I'm kind of like Jim Harbaugh. I'm a little weird. Maybe that's why I'm not the best interviewer, I guess. I don't know. I'm just weird because I can be. I guess. Detroit Pistons, the Prince was in the Palace. The Prince was in the Palace. Even if it's still the Palace or not, he was there, and he played well, didn't he? Little Caesars Arena, but in a lot of ways it's still the Palace, but it's Little Caesars Arena because we always called it, the whatever it was, Palace at Auburn Hills, that kind of nonsense. Jeremiah Grant, people talked about him as a trade possibility. I didn't even think Sadiq Bey, but nah, no Cade Cunningham, and the Wolves still were kind of screwing around in this game. Maybe got a little too happy with ourselves for a while there. Detroit was hitting their shots. They were on fire, and then there was the third quarter where it was the anti-Wolves in a good way. In a good way. We were like, no, you guys aren't good. We're going to kick your ass in the third quarter and then kind of, match your every move in the fourth. And that's pretty much what happened. Detroit drops to 12 and 39. Whew. Like, who talks about the Detroit Pistons these days? I mean, I know eventually they're going to be good again. A guy like a Sadiq Bey is a nice piece to have around, possible franchise players like Cade Cunningham. Kelly Olynyk, gosh, that guy's been everywhere. Everywhere but here, pretty much. Everywhere but in the Twin Cities. Gosh, Kelly Olynyk. And people always talked about, I should trade for him. Somebody named Frank Jackson. Pretty good performance. 25 points off the bench. Actually, a pretty damn good game right there. That is Reggie Jackson, right? But why? Yeah, at least that's what I thought. 25 points off the bench. No, that's not Reggie Jackson. I'm getting him mixed up. Yeah. I'm just goofy right now. Reggie Jackson's on the Clippers. He used to be on Detroit. Because I saw the Lakers-Clippers game right after that. But again, the Wolves were able to kind of get things together in that third quarter. Guys like Taurean Prince hitting those corner threes. Especially that big corner three Taurean Prince hit late in the first half when the Pistons were leading by 7. Taurean Prince had the Wolves were down by 5, and Prince hit that corner 3 to put the Wolves in good shape. But an awesome week for Taurean Prince. My goodness, what a nice start to the month of February. 23 points a game. 7.5 rebounds, a steal and a half, Doesn't get a whole lot better than that half a block, but something like that. But my goodness, the field goal percentage. Jeez, man. And again, that's during the whole course of this week. Over 50% from downtown. Closer to about, because he was 5 of 6 in this game, the Detroit game. 5 of 6, those corner threes. He's just been hitting them and hitting them and hitting them. Before this, he was attempting maybe 2 and like 1 of 2 or 0 of 2 or 2 of 4. That's still good numbers, but this, my goodness, 6 of 9, 5 of 6. He's just been unbelievable. Taurean Prince has been on a tear, and all respect to him. No question about that. For the season, Taurean Prince is shooting 40% from downtown, and field goal percentage is 46. So those are actually decent numbers, but still, he would have those games where he was a ghost. Like, there's just nothing there. Just nothing. But my goodness, the last few games, he's been spectacular. 73% in the month of February. Small sample size, but 73% is 73%. So at least been a couple of games. So, awesome. The Prince was in the Palace. It's just that simple. Anthony Edwards put up some decent numbers, 25 points. Karl Anthony Towns, again, you had the celebration after the game. And then Anthony Edwards at the press conference was basically like, hold on, I got to make my order here. I got to order some McDonald's on the app. He was ordering McDonald's off of the McDonald's app. I don't know if they have it delivered to them in the locker room or, in the Target Center or what the heck. Oh, no, that was in Detroit. So, no, it couldn't have been. I guess, but I don't know if they have it delivered to the players in the building. That's what I'm trying to say. But it's just kind of funny. And he just got held up the press conference. Delay of game, 5-yard penalty, Anthony Edwards. Gosh, that's a 5-yard penalty for you, buddy. So, unfortunately, no Lone Wolf award. And shooting 2 of 8 in a Denver game ain't going to get that either. So, the Lone Wolf award winner, honorable mention to the All-Star Karl Anthony Towns. The winner is going to be Taurean Prince. Taurean Prince with his first ever Lone Wolf Award. Congratulations, Taurean Prince. Just coming up out of nowhere. Great week. Taurean Prince. I mean, he has to get it. He has been a nice spark plug. And my goodness, he really helped the Wolves escape embarrassment last night. You do not want to lose to the Detroit Pistons. And even without their star player, Cade Cunningham, that would be embarrassing. But a nice overall couple games here, or four-game stretch here for Taurean Prince. That's enough of a stretch to make you smile and think, this guy, he plays anything like this down the stretch. He's going to really help this team. And, well, good on you, Taurean Prince. So with that, we'll talk a little bit of the trade scenarios really quick. The second segment should be fairly short because we play Sacramento twice. And then we play Detroit again. So it's like, yeah, that's the second segment shouldn't be a big deal. So I might as well just make this one a little touch longer. Or maybe I shouldn't. This and that.
Not Jake Layman. No, not Jake Layman.
Might as well get to the trade scenarios, this and that, trade scenarios, and other little bits and pieces. Something I didn't even bring up on the last show. And it's like, I wanted to, and then I just didn't because I'm stupid. So before I even get to the trades, I'll say, the new owners, basically, Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez talked about, they say Kevin Garnett, that's right, that guy, Kevin Garnett, will join the group with $100 million and have a say in basketball ops. So we'll say operations, this and that. So we'll see what happens with that. Interesting thought. So Kevin Garnett, maybe that's what the plan was to flip Saunders long ago. Something similar to that, have some say in what's going on with the basketball operations and of course, again, have a stake in the franchise. And I think I got a feeling the new owners could use a little help, obviously. And every team, like the Wolves, who own the Minnesota Vikings, every ownership group has minority owners. And we don't mean minority like this, this and that, race, skin color. No, we mean minority as in they're not like the major top investors. That's what it means. There's nothing to do with anybody's race. I think most of you knew that already, but you get the idea. Small stake in the franchise, 5%, 10%. Glenn Taylor had a guy that owned like 20% of the team. So that actually was interested in buying it years ago, or was it even 30? So it's a pretty big piece of the franchise. Timberwolves logo ranks number 1 in the NBA. I'm not sure if I brought this up last week or not, but the Timberwolves logo ranks number 1 in the NBA. Really? I don't agree with that. It's okay. The original logo, I think, would be higher, in my opinion. I'd rank it higher. I don't even think it's the number 1 logo in Timberwolves history, much less the number 1 logo in the NBA. Atlanta Hawks, Suns, teams like that Heck, even the Lakers, the Lakers going back to the more classic Magic Johnson era logo, which I highly prefer over that L. I think the L is an L, if you know what I mean. So back to the trade talk here. I kept debating in my head as I'm doing this on the fly. Should I bring this to the second segment or the first? It doesn't matter. Might as well have it here in the first segment. So trade talk. The Wolves really do want Marcus Smart from the Celtics. The Celtics do like Beasley, but have offered Jason Richardson instead. The Wolves also have been scouting Philadelphia games, not Ben Simmons related. So interesting to think about there. So Jason Richardson's making 11.6. Marcus Smart 14.3, whatever the heck. Malik Beasley's making the most, 14.4. So you'd think Marcus Smart and Beasley you could do straight up, but there probably would be some kind of a trade involved. Of course, it was successful. I'm on the NBA trades machine thanks to your Vice President of Basketball Operations, Sachin Gupta. So, yes, thank you, Sachin, for helping create that thing. That's pretty damn cool. Let's trade Anthony Edwards. No. Taurean Prince is making 13. Interesting, of course, and he's playing like he wants to get like he'd be a trade possibility. What is going on? I didn't even mean to do that. Okay, so yeah, Beasley, of course, for Mr. Richardson there. Tried the trade, and that one was successful. Not too surprised. I like Richardson a lot, actually. Josh Richardson. His numbers haven't been good lately. They just haven't, and that's unfortunate. But I've been a fan of his for a while, and let's not forget, we were willing to trade Jimmy Butler straight up for him, and we're thinking, why didn't we do it? That's bullcrap. Why didn't we trade him? Yeah, remember that? And remember the year right after, 16 and a half a game. So he was like an up-and-comer, averaging about 13 a game with the Miami Heat. Then he wound up with Philadelphia for Jimmy Butler. Funny how that worked out, where the Wolves got like a bunch of people like Covington and stuff. Of course, that helped make other trades happen later on, including Malik Beasley and ultimately D'Angelo Russell. It's all kind of like a trade to make a trade to make a trade to make a trade as time went by. Of course, Butler was traded away well before Gerson Rosas took over. Just a weird situation. Very weird situation. Of course, Josh Richardson. I keep wanting to call him Jason, which is weird. Obviously, there was a player with that name in the past in a different sport. Josh Richardson, certainly a damn good free throw shooter. It's always 80s and even up to 92 last year with the Dallas Mavericks. Only 12 points a game. But I don't know. His numbers are all good. It seems like he just doesn't, he's never gotten major minutes except for that year with Miami where he averaged almost 17 points a game. I mean, I thought he was a borderline all-star that year. I like Josh Richardson a lot. Apparently the Wolves like Marcus Smart more, which is fine. Marcus Smart has developed into a pretty nice player. He's an interesting guy. He'd basically, in a lot of ways, be a Patrick Beverley replacement, a younger, kind of healthier. He's not that healthy. I mean, shoot, he played only 48 games last year, 44. This year he's been pretty healthy. He maybe played only, it kind of depends. He's missed time, but not that much. He's certainly healthier than Patrick Beverley. 3-point percentage over his career has not been that great, though only 32% throughout his career, and this year 31. Great. Throughout his career, though, 32%. So not an elite three-point shooter, and only 38% from the floor throughout his career. Almost 500 games in the NBA, 38%. So kind of is what he is when it comes to shooting, but again, does provide that intensity, the defense, the physicality. He's a big guy. 6'3", 220. That is not somebody you'd want to meet in a dark alley one way or another. He would kick your ass most of the time. Sixth pick overall in the draft. I don't think he's at that level. But then again, I'd take him over the guy we took sixth in the draft. I think I would. The guy we got sixth in the draft just a couple of years ago. Jarrett Culver or Marcus Smart? I'll take Marcus Smart. Also number 36. What are you, a fullback or something? But I guess he's almost built like one. Just probably a little bit too tall. Like a fullback in the NFL, kind of, in a sense. Big dude. Or just a really good running back, I guess. 6'3", 220. Like an Adrian Peterson, big dude who could, who had some physicality. But Smart, obviously, is a target for the Timberwolves, Sachin Gupta, and all that good stuff. And somebody on Philadelphia, couldn't tell you who, obviously, other than Ben Simmons in the past, but I don't really want Ben Simmons. I think he'd disrupt this team right now, and I don't really want to trade D'Angelo Russell for Ben Simmons, to be quite frank. Not sure that's like the best idea in the world, to be quite fair. As just kind of thinking it over, it's Joel Embiid. It's Joel Embiid. Maybe Tyrese Maxey. Nah, probably not. It's not Tyrese Maxey. Tobias Harris is probably too much. Obviously, he's very expensive. Seth Curry would not surprise me if he's a possibility, but he just keeps getting better and better. I think his value has gotten really high. Danny Green, I don't know. Andre Drummond, hard to say. It's a tough one. It's a tough one at the end of the day. I keep thinking, so you want to add the Wolves. Let's see what would work with Philly really quick. Because obviously it's a fun time of year where you look at possible trade scenarios and such. Ben Simmons, $33 million. Seth Curry, $8 million. So that's definitely a very tradable contract. The three contracts that are untradeable pretty much to the Wolves right now, unless you want to deal away, Russell, Karl-Anthony Towns, that kind of thing. Maybe it is Tobias Harris, but he's making $36 million right now. Crazy. He's making more than Joel Embiid, but yeah, Simmons is making 33. I don't think he's worth 30. Excuse me. Joel Embiid, if he was healthy, he might be even worth more, but he's making about 31 and a half. Tyrese Maxey, obviously, is an up and coming youngster, obviously, and a stud. Andre Drummond, only $1.6 million. Well, it depends, obviously. And the Wolves, are they the kind of, do they want the traditional big man? I do, but do the Wolves? That's the thing. It doesn't seem that way historically. Danny Green or Seth Curry, I have a feeling it's one of those two that the Wolves might be targeting. I don't think it's Harris. Obviously, it's too expensive. Why would you even do that? So, I don't know. Is he better than Russell or Towns? Not really. Not really. It's obviously not better than Towns, no kidding. But, okay. But it's got to be Green or Seth Curry. Danny Green is making exactly $10 million. Seth Curry, 8.2. That's very, very tradable. And the Sixers might tell us to screw off, actually, because he's playing pretty well. He's playing a little bit above his contract right now. Seth Curry, who doesn't dance around every time he makes a shot. Yes, Seth. Thank you for being a little bit more classy that way. With that said, I will now be quiet, and we will move on to segment number 2. And we are back on Timberwolves Explosion, segment numero dos, as I was saying. Detroit Pistons again. We get to play the Detroit Pistons again. So, what more is there to say? We should be able to beat them. I would hope this one will be in Target Center after a couple of days off here, Friday and Saturday off, which would be nice if I could have Friday and Saturday off. This one will be in Target. Again, D'Angelo Russell has been missing time with a shin injury. Was he kicked in the shin, kind of a shin contusion? So it's something like that. Banged in the shin. It hurts like hell. The Wolves should sweep this series, and if we don't, what's going on here? What's going on? Timberwolves 3-2 in our last 5. Detroit 1-4 in their last 5. Losing to the Wolves at the end there. Only beating Cleveland 115-105. That's funny. Wow. But Detroit is bad in just about every statistic in the mid to upper 20s and everything except free throw percentage. They're 13th, 14th in blocks, and I guess 8th in steals. So, but everything else, they're like 26th, 28th. Including field goal percentage. But even though they shot pretty good yesterday, Wolves, no excuse, need to take care of business versus the Detroit Pistons. Anthony Edwards will lead the Wolves in scoring in this game. Winds up with, I think he gets 30 because he needs to get his head out of somewhere. He had not a very good week. I actually didn't even pass out a Johnny Flynn Memorial for last week. It's kind of hard to say. Obviously, McDaniels had a great that 9-point game. He had some quiet ones. This and that, because I was more interested in the trade talk. Naz Reid was good in the little time he played. Obviously, he had recipient of some really nice passing and stuff, alley-oop dunks and such. He was solid during the week. Just it's unfortunate how he's fallen out of the rotation, him being Naz Reid. I'm going to pass on the Johnny Flynn Memorial this week. The Wolves played pretty solid. I could come back to it if something comes to my mind, but I think I'll pass on that for this week. Just nothing that horrible to get to. Wolves should win comfortably versus Detroit. Final score 108 versus the Pistons. Anthony Edwards gets 30. Wolves then have 2 games in Sacramento. So we like those Sacramento tomatoes or something. But I'd love to be in Sacramento, California right now. But back-to-back in Sacramento. I don't know how often that happens. But Tuesday the 8th, Wednesday the 9th, we stay in Sacramento for a couple games. I don't see that happen very often. That's kind of weird. A back-to-back in the same city versus the same team. I guess. Darren Fox, does he want out, this and that, but I sure like him a lot. At times he looks like a stud. Other times he can't shoot sometimes. 25% from downtown. I don't know why he's bad there, but his overall field goal percentage for a point guard, 46, is actually, it's pretty solid. It's up to par at the very least. Harrison Barnes keeps getting, he's developed into more of like a decent, solid starting role player, if that makes sense. A really damn good one. Like he plays a role, this and that. He's definitely not a star. He's like a piece for a team. And he's been nice ever since he's been in Sacramento. Many years ago, he was with the Splash Brothers and such. He was supposed to be one of the big parts of that team, and it just never happened. He just never took the reins of that, and whatever, the rest is history. As much as I hate that team, they won 3 championships. Hopefully, that's it. Hopefully. Rashawn Holmes, I've always loved him. This and that. He's somebody I wouldn't mind trading for, but I don't know. It probably would never happen. He's a double threat every night. Blocks some shots, this and that. He gets hurt sometimes. Halliburton's been okay. He can shoot from the outside about 42%. Wolves should be able to win at least one of these. I get a feeling it's going to be a split because there's almost no chance you're going to sweep on a back-to-back in the same town. Usually the other team's going to get one of the two. Which one is it going to be? I think Sacramento wins the first one and the Wolves win the second. Something along those lines. Anthony Edwards will lead the Wolves in scoring in the second game with 35, in my humble opinion. Is D'Angelo Russell going to come back? I hope so. Karl Anthony Towns will have one of his best games of the year versus the Kings. Historically, like franchise players with the Wolves, be it Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, or Kevin Garnett, have had unbelievable games against the Sacramento Kings. Kevin Garnett used to always have his best games of the season versus the Kings. Always. I don't know if it's because Chris Webber was there or what, but it was interesting. He would have those 40-point nights that he would just... Kevin Garnett never had 40. It was like once in a blue moon, but it was always Sacramento. Wasn't it, though? At least 30 to 35. But you have Edwards. I think Edwards has his 5th 40-point game, actually. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to step out and think Edwards is going to get 40 in one of these 2 games. I'll go with the second, the one that's a victory. Karl Anthony Towns will lead the Wolves with 32 in the first game, but the Kings actually win by a little bit. Sacramento has not been that good. Maybe the Wolves could sweep, but they did beat Brooklyn, which is nice. 1-4 in their last 5. They got beat by 12 to Golden State, beat Brooklyn by 11, beat New York got killed by the Knicks, 116-96. What happened there? It was in the it was in it was in New York. It was in the Garden, Madison Square Garden. Philadelphia, they barely lost to them, 103-101. Definitely some defense in Sacramento, if you can believe it, but sometimes they give up a lot. 121-104. Atlanta's been playing way better. They beat the crap out of the Sacramento Kings recently here. Well, that was the furthest game back, but who cares? One way or another, they beat them. And I think the Kings win the first game. Final score, 118 to 110. Second game, the Wolves come out and get the job done in a lower scoring game. Final score, 108-100. Wolves get the win. Anthony Edwards eclipses 40. With that, we'll take a quick break and look at fan interaction. And we are back here in Timberwolves Explosion fan interaction. I want to thank Indie Angle by Ghost Squad. Thank you very much for the retweet. They've been retweeting often, so must like the show. At least I hope so. They must, because they always retweet it. Levi Brown out of New Zealand, and right here a thank you to Levi Brown for adjusting the picture size twice for me now, because I had that for the new Brave the Wild logo. There was one that was like, it was like a white logo, but still like a complete rebranding of the Brave the Wild logo. It was a cool look, but of course, just a white background. It just didn't do it for me. For this show, it's okay because there's more detail in the whole image. That one, it just seemed like something was missing. And then But Levi readjusted that picture so I could fit it on iTunes via Hipcast and all that, iTunes and the other podcast applications. Hipcast one's at a certain size, basically, and Levi is good at that. He helped me adjust the pictures. I thank you so much, Levi. And then I had to bother him again because there was the better logo, because my friend from Czechia, Pavel Bennett, is the guy who made the logo, and then he made a different color scheme with a logo for the page he's been running, and then I'm a part of MNW Prospects. When we changed it to Young Guns, he had it like a forest green background on it with like kind of a yellow sun, and it looked so cool. And I'm like, any chance we can adjust the color scheme for this logo? And then he said, yes. You want me to add some other detail to it too? And my goodness, it is a beautiful logo for Brave the Wild now. Just an unbelievable logo. And Levi adjusted that one. Just want to thank you, Levi, so much, out of New Zealand. Thank you so much. This is such a great help. I appreciate you very much. Levi out of New Zealand. Vince Germano out of Australia retweeted it. Again, the Courtside Podcast still on hiatus. Come back, come back, come back, come back, come back. Please come back. Courtside Podcast. I'll shout out to you forever. Derek Felska, again, big friend of Brave the Wild. And he writes for Crease and Assist. That's his blog, Crease and Assist, covering the Minnesota Wild. Him and his wife. He often review games. His wife often previews Minnesota Wild games. And he writes other stories with the Minnesota Wild and, of course, youngsters with hockey as well, like high school and such. And Tanae Brown, of course, great friend of the show as well. Man, awesome guy out of New Zealand. Tanae, Vince, Levi, thank you guys so much. You're like the pillars of Timberwolves Explosion. I absolutely mean that. And again, the Courtside Podcast, please come back, please. At TWolvesEX, at TWolvesEX. Perk Nowitzki follow. That's cool. Perk Nowitzki, raised by Wolves, huh? Interesting. That's an interesting look. Perk Nowitzki. Levi Brown shared a line from John Krasinski. Beasley and Prince, 13, 19, 9 of 11 on threes, 39 points. Isn't that amazing? Yep, Johnny Krasinski, Johnny Basketball, or Johnny Athletic, basically, for the Athletic. Levi Brown says, not stats you expect to see. Great job by both of them tonight. And that was the Prince and the Palace, along with Billy Beasley as well. Raising its trade value. Thank you. And, man, that was, what was I posting? What did I post to? Yeah, I was saying, what's gotten into Taurean Prince? Basically, and I posted the image. It may not be the prettiest thing, but you see the games. Today he says, I think he's mad he wasn't an all-star. Yep, and he was laughing there. He's been incredible recently, though, and yes, he has. And he wrote though correctly. He didn't write it like some of the youngsters out there that would write THO. Yep, those guys. Enough with the THO. Just say though. So Tanae, thank you. That's perfect. Yep, Tanae gets it. that shot though, it's like, yeah, that's great. That's really cool. Wow. That's really lit, if you call it that. I would add I'd take the L out and add a SH with people that write THO. Well, no comments on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Timberwolves Explosion. And I'm going to give a shout out to Finch, Flip to Finch, the Flip to Finch Timberwolves page, run by Scott Doherty. Going to give him a shout out because I do post links to the page on there, and he's cool with that. So thank you so much, Scott Doherty. Going to give you a shout out and encourage you to join that Facebook page. That one seems to be a bit better. So many Wolves Shades fans out there. I don't sense that on that page as much. Obviously, we're Wolves fans, and there's going to be a lot of people that are rah-rah a bit, but it's not like some of the others out there where every time Karl Anthony Towns gives us a rah-rah message, which even D'Angelo Russell was getting a little tired of, they think it's the coolest thing in the world. It's not. It's not. Just go out and play. I mean, we're happy for you. We don't need the rah-rah. Just go out and play. We know you're an all-star. We know that you're not accepting of losing and this and that, and that's good. But just go out and kick some butt. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Not saying Cat sucks like somebody told me years ago. He's like, yeah, Cat sucked last year. I'm like, that's not what I said, moron. With that, please do write a positive rating on iTunes / Apple Podcasts. Apparently you can do it on Spotify as well. It might be just a star rating though. I don't know if there's any words, but yeah, at least put a 5-star rating on Spotify if you could. Really would appreciate that. Audible, you can do a review, and Stitcher. For those of you that have, thank you so very much. Better get to these plugs real quick. Vig It, Vigit. I should have done it at the beginning of the last segment, but that's how that goes. Social media for sports bettors. You can post about your picks, see what others are saying about games. So this is basically fantasy betting. Vig It Betting League is a month-long betting competition to see who the best sports bettor is over the course of a month. Free-to-play sportsbook, bet free coins, win real prizes. Betting stats. There's great information available on the Vig It Lakeline movement where the public is betting. Again, this is not real money wagering. And if you want to be like the LA Lakers, or the Clippers, but the LA Lakers especially, those of you that like the Lakers that listen to the show, join Crypto.com. Crypto.com. Hey, it's on their arena now. It's not Staples Center anymore. Crypto.com. You can trade cryptocurrency. I have a link in the show description. Click on that to show that I referred you, and you get $25 in your account. And that would help the show as well, along with the Vig It betting application, as well, which is fantasy betting. Paladinolive is the referral there, all one word. With that said, thank you guys so much for listening. Tell your friends about the show. Keep sharing it like those of you that have. I just thank you beyond words. Just thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week, and hopefully the Wolves continue their drive to the postseason without Jimmy Butler.